Today we're going to check out the new Horizon Cloudbreaker, the original Creator Series Cloudbreaker, and the one right before that, the Cloudbreaker 3, and we're going to see how they fly, so let's check it out. Alright, it's pretty windy, so I'm going to try to be decently loud about this, so we're just going to do backhand at 300, 350, 400, and 450 or higher, and then we're going to do forehand, 250, 300, and then 350 or higher. And so on backhand at 300, you see that with pretty much straight headwind, the Signature Series Cloudbreaker will hold out straight for quite a while, but it's high enough, so at 300 it still has quite a bit of stability and then finishes pretty hard left, whereas the Cloudbreaker 3, you can hang it out a little bit more and a little bit lower, but you see it immediately want to flip into a hyzer pretty quick. And then the Horizon Series Cloudbreaker, so I throw it at 300 and you see it immediately want to turn into a steeper hyzer and then want to fight and spike into the ground on pretty much every shot. So you'll see it at around 350. The same thing, almost the same looking shot, but the Creator Series Cloudbreaker will glide straight for quite a long time and then have way less of an aggressive to the ground finish, but more of a swinging finish, whereas the Cloudbreaker 3 seems to be a little bit more stable and have a bit more bite into the ground, but still has some swing to it. But like I said before, the Horizon Series Cloudbreaker, that one doesn't seem to have as much swing as the Cloudbreaker 3, but it has more bite, so it has more of a spike at the end of the flight. And so at 400, and all these backhands, all these first three backhands are all into a headwind. At 400 feet, this is where you see the Cloudbreaker, the Signature Series Cloudbreaker, need a little bit more hyzer, so it flips up, pops up a little flat, and then fights out to the left pretty hard, you'll see. Whereas the Cloudbreaker 3, I can throw that one pretty flat, not really needing much hyzer. It is a bit high, and then it has a pretty hard fade to the left. And same idea with the Horizon Cloudbreaker. That one is just straight, not much hyzer flip at 400, and no need to ante it to get out that far. And then there's no really fear of it turning over. And then I went into 450 foot backhand or more. And so with the Cloudbreaker, you see I keep that one really low. The left to right picks it up and makes it drift quite a ways, but never enough to push it over because it was on hyzer, and you see it still just fights out at the end. That one went about 510, and then the Cloudbreaker 3, you see low and hyzer, whereas the Signature Series Cloudbreaker on that angle would have dove into the ground. This Cloudbreaker 3 holds it, swings, and then swings out of that anhyzer, and that one went about 525. And then the Horizon Cloudbreaker, that one I threw out pretty low and flat, no turnover to the right at all, even with that left to right pushing on it, and then it just has that really hard flare skip finish, which was about 475. Then on forehand, we did just the 250 foot forehand. You see the Creator Series Cloudbreaker pushes out really nicely. At this distance, they're all going to be pretty stable and has a decent swing there at the end. Same thing with the Cloudbreaker 3. Doesn't look much different. It does have a bit of a tighter, and like it gets into the fade a bit quicker, so a bit of a tighter hook there at the end. And then the Cloudbreaker, the Horizon Cloudbreaker, again, you see that one want to angle down into the ground and spike, and doesn't have much of a flare at all. And then at about 300 feet, I tried to hang this Creator Series out. You see it wants to swing a bit, but it doesn't swing enough like I expected it to, because it does hold straight for quite a while, so it drifts the direction it's going, which is why for me this is a good distance forehand. Whereas the Cloudbreaker 3 threw that one where it was supposed to be, and then it just faded out, swung, and spiked into the ground right around that 300 mark where that tree was. And then the Horizon Series, you can see that's the big difference between these two on this shot, is that the Horizon, very, very quickly, it starts to hook out and into a fade and down, so it's immediately taking some distance off. And then I went into this final one that was only about 350 to the tree, the Creator Series Cloudbreaker. That one, for me, pretty normal shot. Have it on a little bit of ante, let it hold out, it'll flex there at the end, and then swing out into about that 360 mark. And then the Cloudbreaker 3, it pushes out straight when you give it all you've got, and it doesn't really want to hook too hard to the ground too quick, but it will more than the Creator Series. And whereas the Creator Series, that one, even throwing it as hard as I'm able to, that one doesn't sit there and turn over really at all. It just pushes out and then bites down into the ground at that 350 mark. So my overall thoughts are that they each hold a different spot in the bag, which is what I wanted. So the one spot that I didn't have was for an adder in my bag that Discmania couldn't fill, but this one is the closest they've gotten to it, to the point where I'm willing to trade them out, and meaning that this one is more of a distance hyzer flip at 400 or higher kind of disc. Still has a pretty good amount of stability for anything under that. The Cloudbreaker 3 for me is more of a pushing straight and swinging headwind overstable disc, and the Horizon Cloudbreaker is if I need a disc to fight against a left to right on backhand. I have an extreme headwind and I don't want it to turn over at all, or possibly maybe a disc that no matter how high or low you throw it, it's more likely going to spike into the ground than flare skip unless it's way low. The only biggest difference is that this Horizon Cloudbreaker has a bit more dome than the other two. Even though the Cloudbreaker 3s were known to have some dome, this one feels a bit domier than the Cloudbreaker 3s. So let me know what you guys think, if you know of any different stabilities with the colors, and yeah, comment, let me know, and thanks for watching.